Hello and welcome to Women in the Coaching Arena podcast. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Lott, a business mentor and ICF accredited coach, and I help coaches to build brilliant businesses. I know that when you prepare to enter the arena, there is fear, self-doubt, comparison, anxiety, uncertainty. You can tend to armor up and protect yourself from vulnerability. In this podcast, I'll be sharing honest, not hype, practical and emotional tools to support you to make the difference that you're here for. Dare greatly, you belong in this arena. Hello, welcome to the 99th episode of Women in the Coaching Arena. I am so glad you are here. Happy New Year. For me, it's the 4th of January and it's good to be home and have had a few days to rest after a really busy Christmas. Today, I'm excited to cover two strategies that have completely changed my business. So if you have ever wondered what the missing piece is to consistent clients, you may find it in this episode. Let's talk about what deep nurturing is, why it matters, and how you can implement it. Next, we will cover shallow marketing, talk about why it matters, what it is. And thirdly, we will talk about how to combine both into a marketing machine that delivers consistent clients. So you won't find these definitions in textbooks. So if you're wondering, oh, does this count as deep marketing or shallow marketing? I may have made this term up. I like to consider deep marketing as really rich, wonderful content that helps people to get to know you further. You just can't create that sort of nurturing with social media when people are not really in a rich, reflective mode. They are just scrolling, trying to zone out rather than zone in. So this might be things like your weekly podcast, like this one, a blog where you go deeper on the concepts that matter to your ideal clients. It might be a consistent video series or regular LinkedIn lives. It might be your email list where you offer more detailed insights and a greater window into your world. There are loads of other examples too, like workshops, YouTube, in-person events. Essentially, I like to consider deep nurturing as anything that is just that more intimate and more deep than social media. The idea is that people engage with you for longer. It might be 10 to 60 minutes if it's a podcast or a workshop. It might be a full day or longer if you're hosting in-person events. So anywhere that they can experience deeper, more genuine transformation or an aha moment that can change their day because you become a trusted source for them, then you can command higher prices and build more trust with your audience. So this makes a big difference to your business because people need trust to buy from you, and deep nurturing really creates that trust and credibility. It gives you an outlet to share your best ideas and strategies and show that you know your stuff and you are an expert in your field. For me, because I have so many ideas and social media just doesn't allow me to really get them out because you have to spend so long thinking about the right hook, the right words, that I needed more. So that for me is why I started my podcast, because I feel like I have way more to share. Deep nurturing will also allow you to charge higher fees because people know, like, and trust you, and you become a market of one. So you have less competition. It will also future-proof your business, so you're not just a fly-by-night Instagram sensation. You have deep, solid relationships that have a really good foundation for that long-term success that you want. It's also the perfect outlet for bigger opportunities. So if you're selling to organizations or high-level clients, then people feel more comfortable hiring you when they see how consistently you show up and they feel like they know you. So a real life example is this podcast for me. It has completely changed my business, enabling me to sell without sales calls. So I used to spend 10 plus hours a week on sales calls. Now I can free up that time, which is a huge amount of time for me, considering I work school hours only. It's like half of my week. So I started this podcast, as you know, 99 weeks ago, essentially. It has enabled me to develop really good, solid relationships with people, even though they don't actually know me or I don't know them, but they feel like they do know me. So it's really helped for people to be able to buy my high level program often from a sales page or with a couple of emails back and forth, checking that it's the right fit for them. It will enable me to move to my next level as well, because I'm about to start speaking on other people's podcasts. So it really helps to say I've got a top 2.5% podcast globally. And then they think, oh, okay, she must have credibility. The numbers have grown month on month. So if you can be consistent, that you will eventually see those numbers rise. You do still need to drive traffic to your podcast. So don't think it's just, oh, I'll start a podcast. Sadly, the podcast algorithm is probably going to show no on your podcast. So it's still down to you to drive traffic through your email list or social media to your podcast or YouTube channel. So just a quick note on that. So let's talk more about what a deep nurture strategy looks like. So this might be a weekly podcast like I have. It might be a recurring webinar or a roundtable, perhaps if you are working with corporates. It might be a LinkedIn Live at the same time each week. I saw someone do this in COVID whose business literally exploded because he showed up every single Monday at 12 o'clock doing a job search LinkedIn Live. And I remember him starting with like 10 people live. And by the end, he had hundreds online every single week. I used to join myself and I wasn't even looking for a job because it was so exciting seeing his growth. But the key to this is consistency because, like I mentioned, even I remember now that it was 12 o'clock every Monday. Eventually, if you keep doing that, people will start to mark their calendars and know that you are going live at that point. Think about your own preferences here. So, if you love speaking and sharing stories, a podcast or live might be perfect. If you prefer writing, then think about a blog or an email newsletter. There isn't one that's better than the other. It's just genuinely what is the best for you and what you're actually going to do consistently. Another major advantage of creating once a week deep content is that you can repurpose it for your social media. You can perhaps turn the audio into a blog post, which is what I do. You can get quotes and insights to share. You could compile all of your episodes and things together into a mini course or downloadable guide. You can even repurpose them for a book. So there are so many ways when you get this deep nurture stuff going on that it can become what we call your middle of the funnel content. So your top of the funnel is more like accessible for everyone. The middle of the funnel is deeper. I'm interested in you. I'd like to get to know you further. And then the bottom of the funnel is where you will be making an offer and seeing if they want to come further into your world as a paying client. The simple rule for deep nurture is to teach and help people gain insights more than you sell. Okay, let's move on to shallow nurturing and why this is helpful. I think of shallow nurturing as social media. It's bite-sized bits of content that people quickly scroll through during their busy day. It's not usually life-changing, but it's just that quick reminder that you exist. And if they keep seeing you, when that day comes that they have had enough and they are ready to take action, they will remember who you are. Shallow nurturing is important because it gets people to see you consistently. The more they see you, the more touch points they have with you, the more likely they will buy from you. It's your lead generation gateway. Like I mentioned earlier, you do need a way of bringing people into your deep nurture. So you can't just hold a workshop or create a podcast if you have no one to invite to it. So you do really need both to be able to build that audience and bring people further into your deeper content. There is a low bar to entry for social media. Anyone can create a post and share really quickly and easily online. So think of a coin now and think of the shallow side of the coin as the head and the deep side of the coin as the tail. You need both to make a coin worthwhile. Shallow nurturing will attract and remind people that you exist, while deep nurturing will build that long-term, stable, solid foundation that you need for a good business. Ultimately, you are trying to use that shallow content to guide people into your world. And this is probably the biggest mistake people are doing social media, but there is no deep content. There is no invite to a workshop. There is no listen to my podcast. There is no read my blog. So then people can't really take that step towards them. And often I like to think of it as a staircase. If your ideal client is at the bottom of the staircase, They need a few steps to get up to the top, which would be booking a discovery call with you. People don't always just jump that 3 or 4 steps all the way to the top of the staircase by booking a call with you. They need that extra step of like, okay, do I like this person? By perhaps attending a workshop, listening to a podcast, really seeing, are you able to help me? Let's cover some common mistakes and how you can avoid them. Mistake number 1 is trying to be everywhere at once. Most of us are spread too thin. If you are on every social media platform, you will just not be able to manage. I would suggest just choosing one main platform where you know your people are and mastering that platform. You can repurpose it if you want to other platforms because it's easy to schedule these days, but you do need to think, this is my main place where I'm building relationships. I am going all in and learning all about this particular platform, and I'm going to make this my core hub. Mistake number 2 is lacking a clear target audience. Deeper content needs an ideal listener and you to tailor your message directly to them. This will enable you to build that relationship because it's essentially like you building a one-on-one relationship with someone, but en masse, which you just can't really do if you don't know anything about your ideal client. Mistake number 3 is failing to provide real value. If your content is too generic, people won't be able to resonate with it. They won't see you as an authority. So how-to content, case studies, practical frameworks that solve real-world problems can show your ideal client exactly how you can help. And for someone to buy your coaching, they need to know that you can solve their problem. As some quick steps for you to implement both of these, I would recommend pick your deep nurture platform or source. Is it a podcast, weekly live, a blog, a really good email? Pick something that aligns with you and your talents. Step 2, think about what your ideal client is stuck with and what beliefs do they need shifting? What do they need educating on? What will really help them take one step forward today? Then you will want to pick your shallow content means. So which platform are you going to base that on? Educational content works well, or behind the scenes to show who you are. It really needs a mix of different type of content. And then the goal is to continuously invite people from that shallow content deeper into your world. Most of the people who have bought my program have attended one of my free workshops or paid workshops. I run those regularly throughout the year to give people that chance to get to know me a little bit further. So even the podcast sometimes might not be deep enough. You still might want to get people then from the podcast into some sort of live setting to really, really get them that one step closer. So again, back to the staircase. The ground floor is where your ideal client is. One step up is social media. Next step up might be podcast, YouTube, something along those lines. Next step up might be a live event like a free webinar or workshop. And the next step up might be them actually purchasing from you. So that is what it actually looks like to get people deeper into your world. To recap, deep nurturing is where you will deliver rich, more personal, more resonant content to your ideal client. Shallow nurturing is your short form, quick hit content on social media designed to keep you visible and guide people into your deeper content. When you master both of these, you create that solid ecosystem where casual social media scrollers can become really loyal fans and eventually paying clients. If you want help and direct feedback from me to put this into practice, then you will find the details in the show notes. As a final reminder, teaching sales, showing up and genuinely helping your ideal client take one step forward can really make a difference to them to want to actually work on their goal. And then you are perfectly placed to be able to support them with it. Thank you so much for listening to me in today's episode. Please do share it with a friend or leave a review, and I will personally thank you for that. And like I say at the end of every episode, trust yourself, believe in yourself, and be the wise gardener who keeps on watering the seed. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Women in the Coaching Arena. I have a mass of free resources on my website, joannalottcoaching.com. That's Joanna with an A and Lott with 2 T's, joannalottcoaching.com. and I'll also put links in the show notes below. Let me know if you found this episode useful, share it with a friend and leave me a review, and I will personally thank you for that. Remember to trust yourself, believe in yourself, and be the wise gardener who keeps on watering the seed. Get into the arena, dare greatly and try.